Good evening and welcome to All Four Wins Football. We're back again. It's a Monday evening and we're really looking forward to this. It's the international break. Boo. Never feels as much fun, does it? But we're going to try and inject some life into what's going on. We're going to try and do even better than Jules Verne managed with Phileas Fogg. We're going to try and get all the way around the world. Forget this 80 days malarkey that we used to see in the cartoons when we were younger. No, we're on our way around the world in less than, hopefully, fingers crossed, 80 minutes. See you on the other side of this. Bonjour, hola, hello, and that's it. That's all I've got right now. We'll see if I can come up with any more whilst we're there playing around. We're here looking forward to a little bit of an international chat. We figured it would be a nice idea just to sort of run around all of the World Cup qualification areas and kind of see if we even have a clue what we're talking about on that one. But also to just sort of see what we think about the competitions. There was a lot, it really stuck out in my mind. We've got a lot of people that kind of want the Asian Cup people to be out early so they can come back and help the WSL without really seeming to understand that the Asian Cup is quite big for the people that are taking part in it. So therefore, we thought it might be nice to stick a little bit of a spotlight on the various different ways in which people qualify to get to the World Cup. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see what's going on. Liberty's just thrown a right old curveball into the private chat, which I'm going to have to go away and just double check now to see what on earth's happened there, because it didn't come up in any of the stuff I was looking at, but I'm going to have a butcher's and see what's going on. But I thought it would probably make sense to make a start on the one that is going to be over the soonest, and that is, of course, the one that has already kicked off, and that is the Asian Cup. But before we get there, I've been very rude. I had two people coming on the show, and I've not even acknowledged them. I just sat there and been like, "Yep, they're here. It's normal now. Shoes are off. They're on the sofa." I've not even paid any attention. So let's not be rude, hey? Let's pop round and see how people are getting on. Freya, we missed you last week. I don't think you missed us, based on the 7-hour marathon that we managed to go through. But how are you doing? Everything okay?
Yeah, good, thank you. Sorry I couldn't be here last week. We were getting some building work done and the house was in chaos, and I did not have a corner where I could come away and hide and talk to you. But hey, it sounds like a cracking show. Sorry to have missed it. But yes, all good, thank you. Looking forward to a nice little international chat.
There we go. I mean, it was a long show. Whether it was a good show, I'll leave it to everybody else to decide on that one. But we enjoyed ourselves, and that is always a winner. Liberty, nice to see you're still with us after that as well, and not all chatted out. How the devil are you?
I'm good. It was very strange having no football this weekend, and it not being, obviously, like the winter break, we're very used to it, and it's like standard, and obviously like the summer we'd like, yeah, okay, but it was like really weird having this one strange weekend where I was like, there's nothing, like what am I doing? And so I had to watch men's football, which is really not as fun because you have to listen to Gary Neville on commentary. But other than that, I'm all good. How are you, Barry?
Yeah, loving life. Pleased to be here. Glad that we've got a nice Monday evening show. And I'll say it's very weird because we didn't do one over on the sister channel. So as a result, it all just feels a little bit odd. I'm used to sort of being in, quick dinner, and then in front of here for 3 hours. And here we are, just sort of chilled into this bit, relaxed. So I might have lulled myself into some sort of full sense of security here. But we'll see how we go. Right, there we go. That's the niceties out of the way. Back to business. Let's get straight into it. And the Women's Asian Cup, it has kicked off already. It has begun, which it should have done really, because they've been around and in training camp for at least a week prior to this. Now, of course, it's taking place in Australia, so the weather is... So that's always a wonderful thing over there. But Again, it has begun, and we've already had Group A take part in their first games. Australia managed to beat the Philippines with a goal from Sam Kerr, which I believe, if I can recall the tweet that I read, it was her first goal for her country. I want to say in 800 days, so we're talking like 800 plus. I can't remember the exact number, but effectively, for those that are working years and not days, about 2.5 years, nearly 3. So quite a big one, really, in that case. But that one goal has given them the win and put them into second place, though, because South Korea beat Iran 3-0. Here we go, Liberty, with Yuri Chu scoring, Hyri Kim, and Eugene Ko. So I believe. Okay, here we go. Didn't have time to Google. But yes, a 3-0 win for South Korea, which I think is quite something. So that's where they are. That's what we've got. Group A has begun. Group B will not take place until tomorrow. They had a day off. I'm not sure why they had a day off. I don't know what's going on there. I honestly, I can't work it out, Liberty. You're laughing at me. But there's one for the 2nd of March. There's a match on the 1st. There's a match on the 2nd. Oh, it is the 2nd. South Korea played today. That was it. There we go. That's why. It didn't make any sense because they weren't playing till the 3rd. I'm like that. But now I've read the numbers that are on the left. That's really helpful. 1st of March, 2nd of March. So that's what's happened there. But I see what they've tried to do. They tried to confuse me, and they've done bloody well at it. So well done. They got me. Oh, and so I think I spent all that time talking about how good Australia was, and they've done me like a kipper. But there we go.
I just love that you started your rant. And you were like, yeah, I'm going in on this. Oh, hang on.
It was so weird, but I saw the 1st of March for Australia. I didn't think that South Korea would have played on a different day. I don't know why, but it didn't make any sense for there to be a gap. So I'm glad there wasn't. Very sensible competition. Congratulations for being so sensible. But yes, Group B will be playing tomorrow with 2 games, which is again why I was confused with North Korea playing Uzbekistan and China, the team that's won it the most, by the way, 9 times I think I saw, against Bangladesh. And then Group C will kick off the day after. That's Wednesday, with Japan against Chinese Taipei and Vietnam against India. So those are your 12 teams that will be taking part in the competition. It's a very interesting one, Freya. So there's 3 groups. The top 2 teams go straight through. And then, depending on the ranking of the 3rd place teams, 2 teams go through from that to create a quarterfinal stage, which takes place on the 13th, 14th, and 15th of March, taking us through to the final, which will be on the 21st of March, at which point we will then know all of the teams that will be qualified for the Women's World Cup as well. Anyone who's in the quarterfinals, if they win the semi-finals, are definitely into the World Cup. So there we go. That's basically what's happening there. So I'm going to open the floor. There's not a specific question on this one, but we'll kick off first of all, Freya, with your thoughts on the way in which the teams qualify. And yeah, a little bit as well on Sam Kerr netting after such a long time not scoring.
Yeah, I mean, for Australia to host it, obviously there was a lot of pressure on them to kind of open the tournament and to do it well. And to be fair, they did what they needed to do. They got the win. And Philippines, I know a lot of people were saying, you know, we're Australia, we should be beating the Philippines by more than 1 goal. Technically, yes. However, the Philippines put a very good fight. And obviously, Australia as well, they had a good game overall, but there were times where they could have been more clinical. Of course there were. But yeah, it just shows you that they just haven't played together for a very long time. And you've got different people coming in and different personalities, people coming back from injury, like your Sam Kerrs and things like that. So I think there was just a bit of settling in. And that was literally it. But at the end of the day, they did what they needed to. And Sam Kerr, for her as well, especially with not maybe getting as many minutes for Chelsea as she would like as well, just her being able to be there, score the goal, get the winner, and get back to being Sam Kerr, if you like, how we think of her, then that is going to do wonders for her. And yeah, the qualifying, I think it's all winners of the 4 quarterfinal winners get through to the World Cup stage, and then obviously playoffs and so on. So I think for people who want their Australian and Japanese and their counterparts in the WSL to come back early, as long as they win their quarterfinal match, then they can come home early. That's fine, because then they're qualified. But yeah, it's a pride thing, isn't it? Because it's only once every 4 years. And I think we mentioned this last time, but this is the last time it's going to be the World Cup qualifier. For this tournament, they're going to have a standalone one from the next bracket onwards. So yeah, in a way, it's the final send off. Not for this tournament in particular. It's going to then be the Olympic qualifier. But yeah, the final way to qualify for the World Cup as is. So yeah, I'm excited to see what everyone does.
Yeah, it's the right sort of way. Right sort of way to do it, I think, to have a separate competition for it, which I think will work. Yes, it's a little bit more football, but I think that there's so many other windows where they have these international games that actually, to add a little bit more, to use a Connor word here, jeopardy would be quite something. So again, Liberty, just to throw that through again, the 4 quarter-final winners will go through. Now, here's a good one. Usually you have playoff matches, but these are not going to be called playoff matches, because if they lose in the quarterfinals, they go into play-in matches. Interesting wording. But those winners, or losers, sorry, will play those play-in matches. That's obviously 4 teams. And then the winners of those games will qualify for the World Cup, and the losers will go into the Interconfederation playoffs and such like. So there we go. Very interesting, I think, to sort of see how they're getting on there. Just for you, young Emily, I can confirm that they have won it. They won it in 2010, which was wonderful for them. So obviously a little bit of a hiatus in terms of winning it. 7th time appearing in the finals. Look at me throwing the stats out now. So there we go. Liberty, take over whilst I'm still looking good. Talk to me about how you think this tournament's gone. And of course, as Freya says, that the fact that it's going to be sort of like the end of an era, but the beginning of a new one.
Yeah, also, the Asia Cup, I believe, to the people playing it and the people from these nations, is a bit like our Euros. It's like that same kind of like pride on the line and intensity and stuff. It's not like a Nations League. It is like the Euros. So I think that I completely understand why people are like, please bring back our let Australia go out early and bring back the Aussies to the WSL or the Japanese players. I understand, but also for these players, it is like playing in a Euros. It just so happens that it comes during the WSL season because of how, the weather works. Like, it's in the Southern Hemisphere. They can't be playing during, like, for example, obviously the World Cup in Australia was during Australian winter and everyone was saying how cold it was. It's like asking the Euros to be played during an English winter. It's not going to happen. So, yeah, what else I want to say? I mean, it had to be Sam Kerr, didn't it? To start the tournament, it had to be her. It makes so much sense. But then on the flip side, very good from the Philippines to keep it 1-0 and not let it go too far away from them so early. I think that you run a risk when you know you're the tournament opener against the hosts, and the hosts are also a really like good team, that you have the fear that it could run away from you before you've even really got a foot in the game. But so really good from them to keep it to a 1-0. And they also have some ex-Aussie players who switched for the Philippines, like Aggie Beard, who plays over in Sweden. So yeah, they've got some really good players for the Philippines. So yeah, very well done to them. The last thing I wanted to say was I just wanted to not going to like go into this, but just wanted to acknowledge that 2 countries we're going to discuss tonight they're playing whilst knowing that their people in their home countries are being either bombed or are under active war. And so I think that that's probably going to be weighing on these players' minds a lot more than the Australians or the English, because obviously I'm talking about Iran and Ukraine. So I just wanted to acknowledge that, because I thought it would be amiss to not say something. And if you haven't seen, Sky Sports News did an interview with, oh goodness, I can't think of her name now, a Ukrainian international who plays for Glasgow City, where she talks about what it is like to play in a war zone. It is on their Twitter. There's a whole interview on the YouTube. Go and watch it, because you don't realize how, like, they are playing, and then the air siren will go off. They'll go in, and then when it's clear, they go back out, re-warm up, and start the match again. And she said that sometimes kickoffs would be at 11 a.m, but they wouldn't finish the match, the whole 90 minutes, until 4 p.m, because they're constantly going in and out. And like, you don't realize that they're like quite literally in the like league in Ukraine. They are actually playing in a war zone. So I found it on their Twitter, but there's a whole thing on YouTube. And I'm really sorry that I cannot think of her name. I'm going to look for her name once I'm finished talking to say it properly. But yes, there is a whole interview that you should watch, because it is very eye-opening. But Brill for Sam Kerr, Brill for Australia, and also somebody said excited to see North Korea, especially with how well their younger age groups have done at the world stage. Me too. That's what I want to say. That's the last thing, and I'm going to go find her name now. Yes, that's the one. Thank you. I knew I could see K in my head, but I couldn't think of the last bit. I was like, it's K something. It's K something, but I then couldn't get the last bit. But yes, thank you, Barry.
There you go. I usually try and run away from the political stuff. Liberty doesn't do that. She just runs headfirst into it, which is part of the reason why I like her. So there we go. It's quite good to have that in there. And it is quite an important thing. I mean, it's interesting you talk about the games kicking off at 11 and not finishing until 4, because that would be an NFL game, really. Over in America, they're just very used to starting a match and not finishing it until an incredibly long time later. But yeah, I mean, when I looked at that that first league group match, and saw that Iran had obviously just had to play that game with South Korea, the human side of it is that regardless of what's going on and who's right and who's wrong, and whether things should be happening or shouldn't be happening, or what side of the political fence you fall on, the human side is that you're going to be having people out there worrying about family, relatives, friends, people that live there. And that's not the ideal way in which you want to be playing these games. So, yeah, very fair point. So, again, putting back to the football on this one, again, just briefly on this one, Freya, and then Liberty, you can jump in as well. We were speaking about who has won this the most. Obviously, China, as I said, being the most successful side in the Asian Cup. They did win it in 2022, the last time that it was played, with the runners-up being South Korea. But that was the first time they'd won it in 16 years. They didn't win it until since 2006, when they last won it. Who do you think are the favourites this time round to get there? I mean, obviously, we've not seen too much, hence why this is more of a preview than a 7-day review, because there's not a huge amount to talk about. But you know, Australia haven't really shone in this competition in general. It's China who've won it the most. Uzbekistan, believe it or not, but they've won it the second most amount of times, which is something that blew my mind. But that was when they were playing it too. I tell a lie. They were in the group stage those years. I really should read these things a little bit better, and I apologize. I'm going to book myself into Specsavers. No word of a lie. I actually have had a text message come through from Specsavers saying you're due, and they could well be right on this occasion. Other opticians do exist. So yes, no, the other ones, was Chinese Taipei. They've won it 3 times alongside North Korea. So China, out and out, have been the best side in this, but are they your favourites this time around?
My personal favourites. I think you can never. What word do I want? I don't know. You can't count anyone out in tournaments like this, especially the way the groups have been seeded as well, and the way the groups are arranged. I think because the top two do go through, I think there's real room there for, like we see in the Euros, like we see in our Nations League qualifiers and stuff. You've got your group favourite, and then you've got the second one where it could literally be any of the three. So I really think Japan, of course, they're going to be tough competition. Yes, you've got Australia, but like we said, they need to click and be firing on all cylinders. China, like you mentioned, probably will get through in their group. They're with Bangladesh, Uzbekistan, and North Korea. Again, North Korea are a big threat in there. So I genuinely think in each group, you have got those big battles going on. So it'd be quite nice to get through. But yeah, I think Japan have got to be up there for tournament favourites, I think, at the minute.
Would you go along with that one, Liberty? I mean, Trebuchet here scolding me like I've been a terrible person. Australia have made the final 4 times. I mean, that's great. I can remember Ole Gunnar Solskjaer making a whole load of finals and still being told he was rubbish and finishing second. So, fans are fickle in that respect. But I can't imagine Australia will be coming away from that feeling delighted that they've made the final 4 times over the last 20 years and only won it once. Because generally when you're in those positions, you want to win them. It is a good record, but not as good as winning it 9 times from China, which was really all I was getting at with that one. But fair point being made. Do you have a particular favourite?
I think, as everyone said, you can't rule out Japan. I don't think you can rule out Australia either. I think they'll be wanting to do one better than the previous Asia Cup, but also the World Cup, because I think to get where they did in the World Cup on home soil, I think doing it on home soil, lifted them more than I think people expected, and I think that they'll really want to recreate that and push that one more step to go to the final, and obviously then to be able to win it on home soil will just be incredible. So I think Japan, because you think about the amount of talent that they can field for Japan is insane. Australia, I think it'd probably be my top 2, but I think that literally any of the names previously mentioned, I would, honest to God, not be surprised if they got to the final / won it. Because I think we are not aware of how much talent that there is being played in Asia, mainly because most of them you can't watch. Obviously, you can watch the A-League and things, but you can't watch the J-League, the Japanese league. You can't watch it. Obviously, quite a few of them now play in the WSL, so that's probably a really bad example. Let me rephrase. You don't know what talent's happening in North and South Korea because you can't watch the Korean leagues. Especially, you wouldn't be able to watch the North Korean league. Do they have a league? Who knows? So I think that that they could have surprise talent that we've not even heard of. So yeah, I'd say
if they got the new FIFA, they would still be able to play career mode.
Jesus.
No clap for that one.
Oh, that took a second. I had to compute that for a second, but then I thought, wow, that's really bad. That was terrible. I can't remember what I was saying now for that really terrible joke. Oh yeah, you don't know what talent they've got because you can't watch them. So yeah, and finally, before I shut up, Tanikawa is really, really good. Obviously plays for Bayern, but my first interaction was her playing for Isengard, where she had 16 goals in 18 games or something like that in their title-winning season on loan from Bayern at 18 years old, and you're thinking, Jesus, she's good. But that entire Japan squad, you're thinking, wow, they've got some talent. Yeah, I'm gonna shut up now.
Yeah, I should have done that a while ago. But yes, so they're out of the 12 teams that we have got. It's also, I think, a good thing to mention that Bangladesh have made it into this tournament for the first time in their history. They're ranked 128th, I believe, in the world, which is quite something. To give you a little bit of context on that, India are the next highest on 70. So there's some distance between them and the others. So not maybe expecting too much, but to have made it into the tournament for the first time is something that I think they will be very, very proud of. And that game against North Korea will be very, very, I was going to say emotional one, maybe a bit emotional, but also a very proud moment as well. So there we go. Yeah, I found this one odd. I found this incredibly odd, Liberty, because when I was looking at the Oceania one, I was like, why is New Zealand there? Which last time I checked is very, very close to Australia. And then Australia ended up just going into Asia. It's a bit, it's the same feeling I have every single year when I see Australia in Eurovision. How like, you know, kids are struggling with geography nowadays as it is without them thinking that Australia's in Europe. I don't think that's gonna help anybody anywhere at all. But there we go. It's a very, very, very strange situation. Right.
I can answer it.
Go for it. Money, I suppose, is the answer.
They compete in the Asian Football Confederation after
quitting. I thought we were talking about Eurovision there.
Oh no! Oh no! I can answer that one as well. Yeah, I do love my Eurovision. So they compete in the Asian Football Confederation after quitting the Oceania Football Confederation in 2006 in order to simplify their path to World Cup qualification. And that's what BBC says. So if it's different, I do apologise, but that's what the BBC says. And they're in Eurovision because they came in for the a special anniversary, and people liked it so much that they stayed. Is my understanding of that. So there you go.
I'll be honest. I think I would like it more if they had like Kylie Minogue and Jason Donovan come on and do like a bit of Especially For You or something like that, a bit of a throwback song.
Eurovision.
Did you not used to like that? I used to love that.
It's not really Eurovision, though, is it? But
sorry?
like, it's not really Eurovision on it, though, is it? It's a bit...
Well, no, but it's Australia, isn't it? So they are Australian.
Yes. Thank you.
I know Liberty's up. She wants ABBA in.
No, I can answer a question that's been posed. I don't watch Eurovision, so I have nothing to add to the Eurovision chat. I know, I'm sorry, but I just was not raised in a Eurovision household, so I think it just didn't like get passed down to me.
Are you going to ask this question?
I am. She was left out of the Asia squad in 22, and so decided to switch. I think it was a thing of she didn't see. She was left out of the squad. Obviously upset, and I don't think she really saw a pathway of her to get into the Tilly squad on a regular basis, especially in her position. At the time, Australia had very strong centre-backs, so she switched to her other nationality, which is the Philippines, and has been a steady player for them since. That's why she did switch, which I think is very admirable and brave, because it could go completely wrong if you switch. Just because you can switch doesn't mean it's going to go well. So very much respect to her and the fact that it did work. Yeah, but you have to play in like a competitive game, and I don't believe that was competitive, so it didn't mean anything. And then she could be able to switch. That was top of my head though, so don't quote me on that last bit about it not being competitive. But yes, that's why she door looked like it was closed for Australia, so she opened it for the Philippines.
There you go. That's answered that question. And Emily, I'll be honest, it's a bit of a hate watch, really. I don't actually watch the things. I just watch the scores come in. And
No, you're doing it all wrong. You know,
I used to
everyone
watch
come around mine, and we'll do it properly. Okay.
I used to watch it, but I found that if I watched it, then I got myself more and more angry when you started to see the people voting incorrectly.
Oh yeah, you got to ignore that and just enjoy it for what it is.
I really struggled with that. So if I just watch the voting, I can be like, okay. So it's a strange moment, but there we go.
No, you need to watch the semi-finals, and then you need to go all the way through, and you need to follow it.
Oh no, I've never watched the semi-finals.
Oh, you've never. Oh, you're missing out. You're missing out. The iconic song from this year. The presenters always do a song now. Sweden are incredible at it, but they did one called "Made in Switzerland." Everyone needs to go watch it on YouTube after the show, of course. And it's the most bonkers thing in the world, and it's incredible. And I need to be Eurovision representative, I think, because it's really, really good and fun. So yeah, there you go. If you're ever feeling sad, watch "Made in Switzerland" from the Eurovision.
I tend to agree with this. I do think the jurors do give better points than the public generally, but there we go. So I mean, it's very weird. It takes a long time now as well, and I liked when they used to do it properly. I'm not going to lie, when they were actually doing, the proper un point, deux points, all the way up to 12 points, but they don't seem to do that anymore now. They give you the first 6 and then just go, we're going to give our 12 points to. That is too many people now. It's all going to be wrong. It's not what it used to be. Not what it used to be. Speaking of not what it used to be, how about the date for the AFCON? That's not what it used to be. That has gone ever so slightly awry. Now, apparently, this has been rumbling on for a little while, from what I can tell. And by a little while, I mean a couple of days. So to be fair, I don't feel too bad that I've missed this. This bit of news, this little nugget of information that has been coming out, because obviously I've been incredibly busy doing other stuff. But yeah, the AFCON was supposed to be starting in the middle of March, which I thought was going to be quite an interesting thing. It's now been postponed, is what we're getting on. It was supposed to be, as we say, in the sort of March to April area, but apparently Morocco have called for it to be postponed. Well, this is it. Like when you type it in and you start searching for it, there's not a huge amount that seems to have come through. But equally, there's not a lot that's telling us that it is. So it's a really, really weird one. I wish I could tell you that it is definitely 100% happening. But it does look like it is on the way to being postponed. Today, I can quote where I've got this one from. This is onefootball.com, which is by no sense of the imagination Sky Sports News or anything like that. But yes, there is the rumours going around that the event's going to be delayed because of organisational and scheduling difficulties. And I suppose the thing is that there's still a couple of weeks to go. But this to us, you kick off with what's going on there. What do you know about it? What have you heard about it? Is there an official bit anywhere from AFCON that's telling us that it will not be starting at its usual time of the 17th of March?
Did you say me or Freya? Because it cut out.
Yeah, cut out a little bit.
Yeah, because they just went and then you were like, "Can you tell us what you've heard?" And I was like, "Does he mean me or Freya?" I think I've seen what is being said. The French language journalists on Twitter. That's all I've seen as well. But the amount of then English journalists who are quote tweeting that first tweet and saying this is terrible, blah blah blah. I'm going on like this is a very big assumption, but I'm going on that is true. I believe it's a knock-on effect from the men's AFCON final with all the drama of them leaving the pitch. Them leaving the pitch, the controversy around the penalty and all that, and then the knock-on effect of them. They then were asked if they could take away the title, like the AFCON title from the men, and then something about then what I read at the time was then they were considering not hosting the women's AFCON as a result. But now Claire's just said it's because they've decided to host a men's friendly tournament during the March international break and they don't have the stadiums to manage both. So it's either because the men mucked up and caused a ruckus at their final, or because the men are taking priority because they're playing a friendly tournament. Either
What
way,
I'm hearing here is it's our fault, and that's usually the case, to be fair.
yeah, probably. I didn't. I realised that AFCON happens more regularly than the Asia Cup or the Euros because it happens more regularly in men's football. But also, we only had a WAFCON last year. Because like I watched it and they had like the laser lights from the crowd in the final, and it was like a big drama that they had laser lights on the blasting onto the pitch. I remember it very vividly, and it was like a crazy game. Was that a different game? And I'm imagining something. I'm like almost certain it was Morocco because sorry, I nearly swore because it was Vilder is the Moroccan head coach, and I nearly swore because disgusting man, but I stopped myself. I'm almost certain that was last year.
Last July, Morocco, Nigeria in the final.
Yeah, and I remember so vividly the laser lights, and there was like massive controversy if there was a penalty or not. I remember it because it was like crazy. Yeah. So I just my ignorance didn't realize it was happened so quickly. And there's not like a big 4-year gap between each one. But either way, this is happening at this is the expense of the women at the hand of the men, because either it's because of their final when they mucked up there, or it's because they've decided to hold this friendly tournament. So unless thank you. So last year's was postponed, so this year should be the normal timeline. 26 is like the normal year to host it, is what I'm picking up from what you're putting down. Thank you.
I believe it's every 2 years, yeah.
Okay, so it is more regularly than the Euros, for example, but still, I was thinking, I swear we've only played this game recently. Thank you very much for that information. I didn't know that. But either way, yeah, it's because of men marked up somewhere. Either with this friendly tournament, they don't have the facilities to play both tournaments, or because of their AFCON final, which is really disappointing. And consistently, I feel like we're playing this game where both African women's football and South American women's football deserves better, because constantly these things are happening and they're just being basically treated poorly. And it's really disappointing that they've cancelled a whole tournament for the women, or not cancelled, sorry, postponed it at the least, because they've decided to play a men's friendly tournament. Like that's not okay. That's not fair. That's not nice. That's really a bit grim.
I mean, if that's the case, it's absolutely not ideal. What I will say is, as Trebuchet has mentioned, I think it was Trebuchet who said, is it official? This is the big thing. Like, you would imagine at this point that there would be something more official to have come out. But as I say, it's really over the last couple of days that this has been sort of reported. So we could be jumping the gun. We might not be jumping the gun. It might be, just rumours and lies, but it could also be absolute truth. And again, the reasoning why perhaps this is part of the problem, they've got to try and come up with a decent excuse as to what's going on. That there's a lot, I think, to look at this one. But we can, at the very least, talk a little bit about the competition. There are 16 teams that are going to be taking part in it. Morocco, of course, who were the runners-up in 2022 and 2024. We've got a debut for Malawi and for Cape Verde, which is quite nice. And when you start looking at teams and how good they are, Nigeria obviously 10 times champions of this competition, which is quite something as well. So talk to us a little bit, Freya, about the competition. First of all, if it is postponed, any thoughts that you've got that you want to mention on that one, and then your thoughts on the teams and what Liberty says there, really, because the football should be the most important thing, but actually we've got some countries here that are really looking forward to this. As we just said, it's going to be their debut, the chance to take part in it, and here we are potentially just 15 days away from it. and already it's up in the air as to whether or not they're even going to take part.
Yeah, can you imagine if we had a Euros and 3 weeks before they said, sorry, we'll postpone it. Like, the backlash would be insane if they did that to the Euros. And yet, because this tournament maybe isn't in the forefront of people's minds, or like you said, the information just isn't there. There's a couple of tweets and a couple of people have picked it up. I'm just reading, there's 2 articles, one from Her Football Hub and one from Yahoo Sports Canada, that are pretty much saying the same things. But yeah, the Moroccan Federation has been warning for weeks it would be impossible to host WAFCON 2026. But like you said, an official statement has not been released. And it's like, if you're a fan of women's football and your team have qualified for the first ever time, you've got your tickets, you're booked, you're playing, like, you're going, and then 3 weeks beforehand, because you will have booked that in plenty of time in advance, and for them to just not even officially postpone it. So then you're hanging on to, well, am I going? Am I not? Am I, and you're in this state of limbo. And it's like Liberty says, women's football has fought so hard to get where it is, to have these opportunities. And you've still got certain countries and certain federations that just don't give it the respect that it deserves. And you're just like, how are you getting away with this? So I really hope that if they do have this, and like Claire said, Burkina Faso have arrived there already. If you've transported your whole team to another country to get there, to start getting settled in, to start training, and you just think, well, who's going to finally announce it? When are they going to finally announce it? Is it going to be on the day of the tournament? No one's there, and you just think, well, it deserves so much better. And it's because there's nothing to go on. It's just a horrendous situation. So I feel for the teams, the players, the staff, the fans, everyone, because it deserves so much more than they're getting. And if Morocco do indeed have, if they are doing a lot for women's football, they're not showing it at the minute. So they need to pull a finger out.
I mean, that was exactly what I was going to say there on that one, is that, yes, they might well have a good professional league. They may well have done a lot of good within women's football. And there's no part of me that's going to disagree with that. They're runners-up in this in 2022 and 2024. But this is it, isn't it? Because there is no official word coming through, it's all just speculation. And it could be nothing to do with Morocco. If Morocco have been saying for years or for months, that this isn't going to happen, we're not going to be able to do this, and they've just been ignored and basically told, well, you must. It's a bit like when your boss says you can have holiday 6 months beforehand, but then the closer you get, and it's like, oh, that's probably not the best time for you to have holiday. It's a bit like that at the minute, and this is sort of where they seem to be getting with it. So I hope that we get an official announcement about what's going on and that it clears up this. But again, as I say, this completely passed me by. This was not something that was really happening, and for me, so it's very interesting to see whereabouts we end up. But as much as we did with the Asian Cup, we'll talk a little bit about the African Cup, and within that, whereabouts or who you think are the favourites to be winning this one. So yeah, Liberty first, you, and then Freya. Whereabouts or who do you think is going to be the champions? Obviously, Nigeria, as we say, they're the title holders. They've won it more times than anybody else, and they're the highest ranked team in the competition. But doesn't necessarily mean they're going to win it.
I would love one of the debutantes to go on a mad run and win. I would love it so much. Don't think it's going to happen, but I would love it. It would be such a proper underdog story, and that is a proper underdog story. I can't look past Nigeria, the amount of talent Nigeria have had, and have had for like maybe the last 10 years at this point. Is it incredible? Can't look past Morocco either, because the final last year was so tight between the two of them that you think, like, if that is the final again, you could easily have a really tight final that could even go to extra time and penalties. So I think those would be my top two could wins. But I also like the shout for South Africa. Excuse me, sorry. But yeah, I'd say Nigeria and what did I say? Morocco would be my top two.
We know that hosts do well at competitions like this. Freya, for you?
Yeah, I agree. I think just got the groups up now. I think obviously Nigeria, 10 times champions, did we say? I mean, they've got to be up there. Zambia, they've got some incredible players as well. And you just think any of these teams, especially in Group B, so South Africa, Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, and Tanzania, that's probably the widest open group, if you like, who can qualify out of it. So yeah, I'm just excited to see what the teams can do. But yeah, Morocco, home advantage, Nigeria, Zambia. Yeah, probably my top three maybe for this one.
Very, very interesting. And again, the teams the top 4 teams in this competition will qualify directly for the Women's World Cup in Brazil. And there'll be 2 additional teams as well that will have the chance to join them through the Interconfederation playoffs. And again, they get to that by losing in the quarterfinals, I think, is again. Oh, hello. Liberty's got her hand up. Should have gone before you came on.
Freya saying Zambia has ignited a memory in my head. That Germany friendly before the 23 World Cup. Remember how mad that game was?
That was insane.
That was crazy. And directly before that, fun fact, I'd watched Hammarby draw 0-0 in the most boring draw of my life. Like, literally, it finished and I thought, my God, why do I like this sport? Then thought, I'll turn on that Germany-Zambia friendly. That maybe will be a bit more fun. And it delivered. So it cancelled out the really boring 0-0. Why do I like this sport? Hammarby friendly. And the brain waves, I just remembered that happened. That was crazy. Hopefully maybe Zambia can recreate something like that and make one of these games really interesting, because that was crazy. And then I remember Zambia went ahead and then Germany right at the end got back into it, but right at the last minute Zambia got that winner and I thought, wow, this is proper football. Sorry, I just like you've unlocked a part of my brain that I'd forgotten about that. I'm gonna have to go watch the highlights of that game after this, just for some joy, because it was so good.
Absolutely fine. I'm glad you're loving it. That's what it's all about. That's the whole purpose of it. So yeah, back-to-back hat tricks. Has that gone at 2 different Olympics? So it'd be nice, absolutely, to see Barbara Banda in the WSL for sure. And yeah, Zambia against China at the 2021 Olympics was insane. So Zambia via straight. So basically what we're hearing here is that Zambia are definitely the team to watch with regards to literally with your eyes watching, not just to see how they are getting on. I'm going to have to leave CONCACAF because I've got absolutely no idea what's going on with that one at the moment, where we'll move on to CONMEBOL. Is very good. And I love the fact those are 2 ones that started with Con, because immediately I'm thinking of Connor, of course. But in the CONMEBOL, lots going on there. There's 9 national teams entering the qualification on there. The thing with them is that you are not necessarily expecting too much to be happening there, because it's not going to happen until April. But again, with the CONMEBOL, you have got Venezuela and Argentina currently. So literally just one league. They are in the top 2 spots as it stands, with Colombia and Chile looking like they would go into the playoffs. So it seems like there's about 3 teams that will go through with that. Ecuador, Paraguay, Peru, Uruguay, Bolivia, all very interesting national teams. From that one, I suppose really you'd be expecting, wouldn't you, Argentina to be perhaps one of the top teams there, as was mentioned. But again, I will leave that to you guys on this one. Whereabouts or who do we see coming through on this one, because match day 9 isn't going to be until June. So these guys are not going to be qualified until at least halfway through the year. So, yeah, do you know what I mean? This is it. This is literally what I've been doing today, trying to work out what on earth is happening across the world. And it's unbelievable. But yeah, CONMEBOL has its own little sort of Nations League with 9 teams, like I say, Venezuela, Argentina, Colombia, Chile, Ecuador, Paraguay, Peru, Uruguay, and Bolivia. So, yeah, it's very, very interesting. So talk to me about your knowledge of the CONMEBOL. Is this new for you as well? Yes, we do. Liberty, I'll let you go first.
Sorry, bro, you didn't say a name, so me and Freya just wait to be chosen.
And I like that.
I also did not know that it was a Nations League. I'm not particularly fond of the Nations League. I'm gonna just gonna put it out there. I'm not sure it's my I'm not sure it's my favourite style.
We'll get a whole bit of time to have a chat about that, because that comes in at the end.
But I don't know what to expect. But I guess that's something for April. I actually have no idea what to expect. All I know is Argentina lost 2-0 yesterday to the USA, and Colombia lost to Canada 4-1. And has anyone seen the really terrible clips of the fake dive from the Colombian player, Vanessa Gilles?
Gilles was not happy, was she?
She does push her, but she goes down clutching a part of her body that was not got any contact on it. It's insane.
Yeah, she goes around holding her head, doesn't she?
Yeah, and she pushed her shoulder, and you're thinking, babe, she's tall, but she's not that tall. She didn't push you in the head. It's as bad as the clip of Harry Maguire clutching his eye after not having any contact with a foot in yesterday's Manchester United men's game. Like, the same energy. Yeah, it's not good. But yeah, the other thing this also sparked another memory of the Argentinian players in 24 going protesting, withdrawing from the national team for misconduct and being treated badly, basically. And so I hope that this suggests that that's been sorted out, because if we're gonna, we're saying that the women deserve better in Africa, well, they deserve better in South America too. So I hope that that's been sorted out for the Argentinians. That was in, I'll tell you the date, May 24, 2024, not 1924. So it's been nearly 2 years, and I haven't heard much else since. So hopefully it's been sorted out. But yeah, not good at all, especially when your men's team are reigning world champions until this summer, unless they win it again. It just like equal treatment is really not that hard. But yeah,
no, for sure. Freya, CONMEBOL for you, it's a brand new thing for you?
Yeah, I'm just reading up on it because, like Liberty, I was like, oh yeah, they're in the She Believes. Yeah, it's fine. But no, completely different tournament.
The She Believes is obviously, as you say, something a little bit separate. It seems like they'll play next in the April international window.
Yeah. Because you think about those teams, your Argentinas, your Colombias, and things. Oh yeah, they're playing at the minute, but that doesn't count because that's a different thing. And I think people, especially as the women's game is still growing, and there's a lot of information out there that people don't know, and that's why hopefully we can bring it to the people. But just as like guidance, I think maybe tournaments themselves or federations need to be more like, right, this is what we're doing. This is our outline for 2026, or this is the outline for the qualifiers, because to find the women's thing that we're talking about at the minute, the women's qualifying, you click on FIFA, that takes you to the men's. There's no mention of the women whatsoever. So then you've got to go on Wikipedia, who we love Wikipedia, but obviously anyone can go on and edit it. And you just think it still shouldn't be this hard when it's the qualifying tournament for a World Cup. Like, why is it still so hard? So so looking at that, we've got Venezuela and Argentina through at the minute qualifying, but Argentina, Colombia, Chile, like you mentioned, are all on the same points. So I genuinely think there's maybe only 2 teams right at the bottom, maybe Uruguay and Bolivia, that don't really stand a chance of getting through. But the rest of them, I genuinely think have got a good chance. I think playoffs till June, you mentioned, didn't you, Barry? So yeah, there's still a lot of chance to secure those top spots, and even the playoff spots that we keep talking about for each federation. So yeah, there's a good mix of countries that I think Colombia will do well. Argentina, like we said, Chile might push through there, but then Ecuador have proved they can pull off. What am I trying to say? Ecuador proved that they can do well previously as well. So yeah, I think anyone out of those top 5 teams, Brazil, of course, not playing because they're horse. So yeah, anyone out of those top 5 without Brazil there, I think they've got a really good shot at getting through.
Absolutely, I think it's quite something, which is really, really good to see. Now we can go back to CONCACAF because that's made a little bit more sense. I was struggling a bit with that because when you look at the CONCACAF for the World Cup qualification, which is obviously what I was building this show around, there's only 2 teams in it. It doesn't take place until November, December, and that was the United States and Canada, who are obviously through as the automatic qualifiers as being the 2 highest world ranking sides from the region. The rest of them have to qualify for those 6 places to be able to get in there, which is what's going on at the moment. So that's where we stand. They have got, I want to say 4 groups. No, 5 groups, 6 groups. They've got a lot of groups, 6 groups in the CONCACAF qualification. That's a lot of being said on that one. But really quite interesting to see how those groups are getting on. So basically, each group winner goes through to that tournament alongside the United States and Canada. So Group A currently has Mexico at the top of that one, with Puerto Rico just underneath. But the US Virgin Islands have only played 1 game and they've won it. So we're interested to see how they get on. They've got matches happening. St. Lucia lost it to Mexico 7-0. 7-0. Mexico bops them. And that happened today because I looked at the date. So that's all good news. So there we go. But there are some more matches happening. The Virgin Islands will play Puerto Rico on the 5th of March. In Group B, love this country, Nicaragua, they are at the top of Group B as it stands, but Jamaica have only played 1 game thus far. So lots to look forward to there. Nicaragua and Jamaica playing today, 6 o'clock on UTC. God knows what time that is, but it obviously hasn't been played yet. Otherwise, it would be there. And on the 5th of March, Antigua and Barbuda, will be playing Guyana, which is a great fun. Group C has got Guatemala at the top of that one. And again, they've got games coming up. Bermuda against Costa Rica and the Cayman Islands against Guatemala. Group D currently has the Dominican Republic at the top of their group. Group E's got Cuba at the top of theirs. And in Group F, El Salvador, which has only got 4 teams in it, whereas the others have got 5. So lots happening there. A very convoluted way of getting through here, because obviously you've got the 2 that are already in it, and then everybody else has to battle to have the chance to go and play them, which I suppose is probably fair in the grand scheme of things. And that's why we see the likes of America and Canada taking part in these other things, such as the She Believes Cups, because they need things that are going to sort of fill that space, I suppose. So Freya, we'll throw this one over to you. Is it, what's the word I'm looking for here? Is it really worthwhile? Because you're going to get those 8 teams that are going to go into the CONCACAF qualification. Again, the winners of the quarterfinal go through, and then the people that lose, or the teams that lose, will then take part in the playoffs for 2, I think, additional spots. So out of all of that, there's going to be 6 teams that qualify for the World Cup. Now, obviously, the CONCACAF Cup itself is what you're aiming for there. But, I mean, just as a general rule, America have won it the most times: 91, 93, 94, 2000, 2002, 2006, 2014, 2018, 2022. So they're nailing it. Canada won it in 98 and 2010. It really just feels like it's between those two teams. It's a little bit like the WSL in some respects. You know, it's either Chelsea or it's Arsenal. And it's only this time that we're seeing Man City jump in as well. And of course, back in the day, Liverpool, don't come at me, Emily. So there we go. So what are we thinking, Freya, about CONCACAF? I say, is it worth it, tongue firmly in cheek, but it feels like these other teams are doing a lot of work, basically for the honour of eventually being beaten by the United States and Canada.
It's tough one, isn't it? Because you've got the smaller teams. I mean, I'm sad we don't get another another Virgin Islands derby, by the way, because that was quite good at the last international break. US Virgin Islands, so much better than the British ones. It was like 10-0 in the end or something, wasn't it? But yeah, awful. But yeah, just looking at kind of how it's stacked up, and I just think when you've got countries that have got a small talent pool, and you've got countries that may not have the same funding as the US, and yeah, of course you'd love to play those statement matches, of course you would, but surely going up against other island nations that are very similar to you in terms of development and stuff, there's a lot of pride in still showing up and representing your country. And so even if they're never going to make it through, I mean, hopefully they will, but if they're never going to make it through to face, a US or a Canada or anything like that, they've still got the opportunity to go through that system, play those matches, and keep developing. And I think that's the key thing. Having these opportunities is only going to make them stronger as a footballing nation, because you see a lot of players we mentioned earlier who, yeah, they might have grown up, let's say, in the States, but actually they've got family in Tuvalu or something, and you just think, yeah, I'm going to go represent them because that's where my family are from. And ultimately, if they can then help the game to grow and develop there, then it's going to make more people hopefully want to do that and represent. So yeah, I think purely from a pride and development point of view, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't mean to denigrate them playing the game at all. What I'm getting at with that is that maybe a different sort of competition in that region of the world. We talk about Brazil automatically making it through, America and Canada automatically making it through. That you feel almost like if they're not in for the qualification, is there something else that perhaps they could be doing with their time? Do they need to be consistently winning these sorts of tournaments in the same way that we're talking about with the Asia Cup, changing things around a little bit and maybe just sort of rethinking it? Because ultimately at the moment I don't know that there's a huge amount to gain from those sort of marquee matches at the moment. But I'm absolutely willing to be proven wrong. Liberty, your thoughts on CONCACAF, which I've got to be honest, I love saying, but it does make me think a little bit of like, and it's a great business idea, feel free to take it, but a cafe where you could go and play Conkers, which I think I'd be up for that. I'd go and have a go.
When anyone says CAF at the moment, all I can think about is in The Apprentice, in the losing team, when they go and sit with their coffees and they're like blaming each other. Maybe they need to do that at the CONCACAF, just to lighten the mood a bit, because they're so angry.
Perhaps because they've broken the mug because they hit it with the conker by mistake. All sorts of going on. It'll be a smashing time.
I think that different styles of qualification needs to work in different places around the world, because what works for Europe isn't necessarily going to work in other places because of of the money, the investment, and also just like the size of some of these countries is like nothing. Like we think like England is geographically a small country, but football is so like ingrained that we have more than enough talent. Whereas some of these places, it's not the same. They may be physically small, but they also may not have the level of investment in football that we have in England. So it's like I just think it needs to work for the region and not just have like this like plain and simple one mold fits all kind of thing. And I don't think that's possible. And I think that I'm more than happy for countries to swap and change. Confederations and regions to swap and change and see what actually works for them, and to get the most variety of talent and countries into qualification and into World Cups and stuff. And if that does mean that the US and Canada need to sit out, like by all means, they're probably like 9 times out of 10, at least both those countries are going to be in the World Cup. So it's like fine that you give like the other countries a try. I think it would be interesting if Brazil had to qualify for this World Cup, because that would obviously then be that's like that's the top 3 biggest footballing nations in that region is those 3, and so the fact that all 3 of them kind of like are sitting out is, I think it would just like be really different if Brazil were playing. I want to say something on Claire's comment. There are players in tier 5 playing for those small nations. I think I saw a player's TikTok of her being called up for the first time to her national team, who plays here in England, but her parents emigrated here. And honestly, I'm a very emotional person. I'm going to put this out there. I cry all the time. I cried the other day because I saw my neighbor getting out of the car and I hadn't seen her in ages, and like she didn't look well, and I was like really sad. Like I cry all the time. But honestly, I was crying over this TikTok and her telling her parents that she got called up for the first time. I was like, oh my god, it's so sweet. Because like I'm never gonna do that. I'm more than happy to live vicariously through this person. I don't know this person, but like the joy that she had, and she was sharing with her parents who had made this sacrifice to give her a better life, and now she's sort of paying it back by playing for their country. I was like, oh my god, this is so beautiful. Yeah, I think that I'm assuming that that's one of the kind of people that Claire is referring to. And honestly, if you come across them, they're like highly emotional, and like her parents are crying. I was crying. I was like, oh my god, I'm now part of the family. We're all crying together. Yeah, I just wanted to shout that out because I did actually see one of those people, and I was like, oh my god. But also, I do cry at literally everything. But yeah, I also have no other feelings about CONCACAF. Other than tears, apparently.
Which is fair. I think it's Luton. Sorry, I was just Googling. But I did see it on Twitter as well. It was Luton. Fiona Budkieg playing for Luton, as I say. She was called up for Malta as well. That's a tier 4 side at the moment in Luton. So there we go. Not Malta. Malta is not a tier 4 side at the moment in Luton. That would be crazy. What a world that would be. Malta is an independent country as verified by the United Nations, as Richard Osman would point out to you on Pointless regularly. But of course, Luton is indeed the tier 4 side there. Just clearing that up. Right, let's go over to Oceania, which is like the what a world that is. Like, I didn't know there was going to be this many teams. It's going to get quite exciting when you start looking at it. So, again, in the Oceanian version of the competition, excuse me, there are 4 teams that took part in a first round qualifier, that being Tonga, American Samoa, Tahiti, and the Cook Islands. They had to play off so that one of those teams could make it into the official qualification matches. That has happened now, and those matches are currently taking place. In fact, a couple of them have already happened today, because obviously it's now tomorrow for them, all the way over in Oceania. American Samoa beating just Samoa. So that's the big Samoa derby out of the way there with a 1-0 win. And then, of course, New Zealand, who I think basically, from what I can see here, just basically batter the other 7 teams effectively is what appears to happen here. And that seems to be quite sad. But yes, you've got New Zealand, American Samoa, Solomon Islands, and normal Samoa. And then you've got Papua New Guinea, Fiji, New Caledonia, because nobody talks about Old Caledonia anymore, and Vanuatu. Okay, so those are your 8 teams that are going to be taking part there. The top 2 teams in both of those groups go through to the next round, which is, of course, like a sort of semi-final. That goes on in April, and then the final is on the 14th of April. So the next international window will see that final. The winner qualifies for the World Cup. The runner-up goes to another inter-confederation playoff. So there will be another 2 teams that will go up. So basically, unless there is an absolute miracle, Liberty, then it's basically going to be New Zealand and another football team. Who do you think will be joining them? Which obviously it won't be Australia, because they're over in the Asian Cup now, battling in a very, very different competition. So assuming New Zealand make it through, you are then looking at American Samoa, Solomon Islands, Samoa, Papua New Guinea, Fiji, New Caledonia, and Vanuatu. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. There's some places there that I've not even heard of. I could not point to Vanuatu on a map if I tried. But does it surprise you? Are there any teams there that even remotely register? Because if there's anybody on this panel who's going to know, it's you two. I couldn't potentially even talk about how well these guys rank. And so again, when we start talking about these football teams, I can tell you actually that Papua New Guinea are the 2nd highest world ranked. They're 61st in the world. Solomon Islands with 73rd, Fiji 78th. So it would look like it's going to be Papua New Guinea, but that's just based on the seedings. Is this part of the issue with where this World Cup is at the moment? Because I can remember Connor years ago talking about this when he was getting into international football himself. You don't want to be in a situation where, especially in the big matches, you're seeing these teams get beaten 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 20-0 as England did with Liechtenstein that time. It's not the most enjoyable situation for anybody. But equally, on the flip side of that, it's a big moment for those opposition players to have the chance to play against these players that perhaps they're seeing on the TV quite regularly as well. So where do you sort of stand with this one? Because at the moment, again, I look at that, and that is basically just a tournament that is derived there for New Zealand to go on and win. What have these other clubs got to do, these other countries got to do in order to be able to make this a competitive competition? Because we are talking about a region with very few players to choose from in the first place, you would imagine.
I don't know. I think it's probably a thing of you know how Republic of Ireland, but both the Republic of Ireland and also Northern Ireland seem to just kind of get the English players that don't make the England squad, but suddenly have an Irish grandmother, and then they go, you can play for Ireland now. Maybe they need to do that. Or you are a Kiwi, but you have your grandfather was Samoan. You can play for us now. Maybe they need to do that. I don't know what the answer is. Their talent pool is smaller than my town, and I live in a quite decently small town. And there's no bloody good players here. So I don't know. Or maybe they just need to get as many players with their country blood in them and say, come play for us, and they go, okay. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know, Barry. I don't know.
Well, I'll reword the question for Freya. Am I perhaps being, because again, as Liberty mentioned a moment ago, we're very blessed and privileged in the regions of the world that we have come from, because we've seen football. In England, it's literally our game. We invented it. So you're left in a situation where it is all around us. It surrounds us. It's a national sport. It's an amazing thing. Over there, are they in a situation where actually just qualifying for a World Cup is effectively that moment? And that actually, that's the sort of thing they're after. The fact that there is a group of football players here who could end up going to Brazil. And yes, it might only be for the group stage. And yes, they may only play 3 matches. But this is an opportunity for them to do something that, in the nicest possible way, could be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Because I think because we're so ingrained as a footballing nation, we are kind of biased in that sense of course you want to qualify, of course you want to win. Like, why wouldn't you? Get the best players, things like that. But obviously, cultural sports differ, don't they, throughout? I was actually on a rabbit hole about where New Caledonia is. I've never heard of New Caledonia. Where's that? I thought it was quite good with my geography. It reminded James Cook of Scotland, which is why it's called New Caledonia in 1774, just to let you know. So yeah, I think it's very much, if you think about rugby league in Australia, if you think like Aussie rules football as well, there's so many other sports that people are into. So maybe it is a case of actually football is still developing, not at the rate probably that we as outsiders would maybe expect it to. But if there's an audience for it and there's people who want to play it, as long as they've got the opportunity to play, I think that's the most important bit at the moment. Because if they suddenly had lots of investment and development and they wanted to move forward, a bit like what Liberty was saying, try and poach players from other teams and who aren't getting playing time and stuff, and you just think it could be done, hopefully, if they wanted it to. But yeah, I think at the moment, as long as they've got an opportunity to play and be in and amongst teams like your New Zealand's, who people may know, Katie Kitchen and India Page Riley as well, play for New Zealand, one of a couple of players there. So there are, I don't want to say star players, that sounds redundant, but popular players that we know who do go back and represent the other side of the world. So yeah, I just think even in these qualifying tournaments, it's great to see where they are developmentally, and if in fact they do want to then progress, then hopefully they've got the opportunity to do so. But yeah, I just think a bit like what Trebuchet is saying, there's a lot of other sports that get a lot of attention, particularly the netball, the rugby, those kinds of things. So maybe it's just a case of football is there, but it's not a priority, maybe.
No, I tend to agree. I mean, again, as we said, it is a very small sort of talent pool, and you are very much, you say, competing against other competitions and other sports. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe sometimes, I think maybe I do personally just look through these things at the win at all costs sort of thing, whereas actually maybe in this and even to a degree CONMEBOL, maybe they are very much in a situation where it's all about you can only win and succeed based on where you are. And let's be honest, I will never play in a World Cup. Liberty's already mentioned she will never play in a World Cup, and I don't think you're going to a World Cup anytime soon, Freya, to play. So,
bit rude. I could be there.
To play. Come on now. But I think actually, if we're in that sort of situation, we've got some girls here that are going to have the opportunity to go and play. That is quite something. Not a lot of people get the opportunity to say they have played at the World Cup. So there we go. Well, that's them. So we've gone all the way around the world. I promised that we would do that in about 80 minutes, and we've managed it. But we have returned back to Europe. Yes, Liberty. Oh, yes, you wanted to talk a little bit about American Samoa. My bad. Go for it.
Thank you. I was like, I really want to say this. first off, I looked up where American Samoa is, and you'll be unsurprised to know there is an unincorporated US territory between Hawaii and New Zealand. And also, the capital is called Pagu Pagu on one of the islands, which is called Tutulia Island. That's not what I wanted to say, but I had to look it up because I didn't know where it was.
She wanted to do a geography lesson. I love it.
No. I promise that there's actual football to this. So, don't know if anyone knows my good friend Tom Marr, but this is all from him, so I'm not taking any credit. He's the one that's got this. So, American Samoa are the lowest ranked side in the Oceania Football Confederation. And they played, this is the end of last year, they won 3-0 and 4-0 respectively against Tonga and Cook Islands, who were 46 and 31 places above them in the FIFA rankings to get through to this round. They had never won a World Cup qualifier before November, before they won those 2 games. And they played, this is once again directly from Tom. They faced the reigning Oceania Women's Nationals Cup champions, let's start again. Solomon Islands, who started qualifying 80 places above them in the world rankings and beat them 1-0, and that was about a week ago. So very brilliant for American Samoa, which is a US territory, which I just found out. And also it is a population of 50 to 60,000 people, which is only 5 times the size of the village I live in. Like, it's a tiny place in comparison to so many other places. And I thought that their very good run deserved a little shout out. And that was all from Tom. If you don't follow Tom on Twitter, he has some brilliant nuggets of information. I would very recommend it, and I would not know that without him. So yeah, just a very good story coming out of this. I knew.
Oh, she was struggling a little bit earlier with her Wi-Fi connection, and it seems to have caught her out at this moment. Oh, here we go. She's back again. Congratulations. What were you saying?
I was just saying that it's very good for them of this winning streak that they're on, and just thought they just had a shout out when you said American Samoa. I was like, I swear I've read a tweet about them recently, and then so that's what I said.
Winning both those games 1-0 was quite good for them. They are qualified for the next round, so New Zealand have as well. So their next game is against New Zealand, so it won't matter whether they get battered by New Zealand or not. They will still go through because Solomon Islands and Samoa are out. It's not quite the case over in the other one because Papua New Guinea and Fiji still need to play. They're playing tomorrow, as we say, but by the end of this international window, we will know what the semi-final is going to look like in the next international window. So, yeah, American Samoa will be in there. And from what I can see, working on the theory, they will be the runners-up of Group A. They will play the winners of Group B, which, again, could be either Papua New Guinea or Fiji. Potentially, they look like the top 2 teams to have the opportunity to do that. So, there you go. I'll forgive you all for mispronouncing Samoa. Okay. Now, if this was Uncle Tony, he'd give us an idea as to how we should say it, not just tell us what we've done wrong. But I can see Liberty already reaching for Google Translate and all that sort of thing to let us know how we say it. There's definitely something on there, but we appreciate the heads up because I thought I was saying it right. So there we go. And hello, boss. How are you?
I just looked it up and it's told me. Wait, hang on. Let me see if I can play it, and it will come up on the sound now, which is exactly how I've been saying it. So
that's great. It didn't come up.
Okay. It says. Oh wait, I'll sound it out. Sir Mo, like mowing the lawn. Which is Samoa, which is what I think we've all been saying.
Yeah. So, apparently, you've got to stress the mo.
Samoa.
Samoa. Yeah.
I mean, there is some stress coming out of this, but it's nothing to do with the m, and more about the me. There we go. Wow. Stressing the first syllable.
Samoa.
Well,
Samoa.
that's completely against what Google AI says. Sorry.
Nice. So we've got a fight now between Trebuchet and the googly eyes, which is going to be quite something. But yes, those guys, as you would say there. Well, here we are. More like Samoa.
Yeah, but in my accent, that doesn't work. Sorry.
I think you should try it in your accent.
Samoa?
I'll be honest, you sound like a Poundland Oliver Twist on that one.
Oliver Twist, not a Cockney.
Please, sir, can I have some more?
Samoa.
Love it. Very good. Well, there we go. I love this show, literally for this reason. So there we go. Just stress the first syllable needs to be in Geordie. Imagine.
Not Geordie. That's okay.
There we go. So let's bring ourselves back round to Europe, and it's your opportunity, Liberty, in a moment to talk a little bit about this. Emily didn't agree with you. She really liked the Nations League, thinks that it makes qualifiers a little bit more interesting, feels like you're competing for something more meaningful rather than just a glorified friendly. And I have to say, in general, I tend to fall in line with that as a rule. But I think where I struggle with the Nations League is the different groups. The fact that you've got Group A, loads of them, and then Group B, loads of them, and then Group C, loads of them. And they're all sort of split out into these sort of situations that I don't think make it quite as exciting as it could be. But you've effectively got a very tiered system. So it's going to be very intriguing to see how these next few weeks go. But obviously, the teams being split up in the manner that they have been over time, like I said, I don't know genuinely how I feel about the Nations League. I like the idea that it is a bit more competitive, as we said earlier on, but equally, I think it's a very convoluted process of group winners go through, and then we have to have a bunch of playoffs to try and get into it. So it's a long one, and again, it means that you are going to get the vast majority of European teams through that you would expect. But having said that, let's not forget the absolute joy that Sean had when Wales made it through to their first international tournament through doing this as well, through playoffs and such like. So it's really good. And again, good point. Yes, there is a lot of Nations League campaigns, but no difference to the AFCON, really. It's just every 2 years to qualify for whatever the big event is, I think. I think that's what happened. I'm sure it was the Euros that Wales qualified for in that respect. So, yes, it is going to be the same ones. But again, and this is what I'm talking about. We've just had this lovely conversation all the way through all these other countries, talking about how great it is that Malta are going to get the chance to play, and American Samoa, and talking a little bit about all of these other little countries and how great it is for them. But actually the same applies here in Europe. Yes, we've got some very highly ranked teams, but they're teams that need to grow. Gibraltar, for example, is a little island, which doesn't really seem to have too much that it can do. In terms of football, I don't know if you've ever seen the Gibraltar Stadium, but it's quite a view. It's like literally just perched on top with wind coming in all around it. So it's an interesting little place, but they're never going to be able to. They're never going to be at the level of a France or a Germany or a Netherlands. They're always going to be down low. But again, as we said, access to football really is the most important bit there. So San Marino didn't enter in this one, which is probably wise. So yeah, let's throw it out there. Liberty, you had your hand up, you waited patiently. I will let you off the leash. Go for it. UEFA Nations League. What's the problem?
It is sort of what's already been said. There's too many leagues, and basically, for me, and I come as this as somebody who Poland qualified for the Euros because of the Nations League, but they did it because of the year before, because they were promoted the year before but then came last and were relegated. But because of the year before they'd got promoted to begin with, they then could play Austria across the two legs to then go through to the Euros last summer. In what world does that make sense? Like that's ludicrous. Last year you did well in League B to get promoted, so you can play this playoff to get to the Euros. But this year you actually played Germany. I can only remember Germany off the top of my head. But we lost all the games, and they were relegated again. But because they did well the year before, they could then play Austria. And like 9 times out of 10, I'm be so brutally honest. 9 times out of 10, the country that has been in the competitions before, like an Austria, are probably going to win those games. And that is not me putting down the accomplishment of what Poland did to win across both legs, home and away against Austria, was brilliant. Both of those 1-0s to get to the first Euros. Once again, emotional person, cried everything, tears in the eyes, cried. So did Everpayor. Unbelievable, but that doesn't happen. It's not the same as men's football, where that happens 50% of the time. That happens 10% of the time in women's football. Maybe it's because they had Eva that they could do that. They had this superstar, but not every country has a superstar, especially every small country like a Poland don't have a superstar striker like Everpayor. I just think it's too much. Like 3 leagues, and then each has different groups. Oh my! Also, you can't watch it. You can only watch England basically, and Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. You can't even really watch Republic of Ireland, even if you are Irish through the Republic. You can't watch it.
That's already about 50 games more than the Europa Cup, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like you want to root for the small countries, the real underdogs in League C, but they're not going to get to even try to be in an actual qualifier for the World Cup, because you have to either have been promoted from League B recently or be relegated from League A or whatever to even be in with a chance of those playoffs at the end. And also, usually you're playing against a country that has been there, done it, got the t-shirt, and probably has a more well-rounded talent than you. Once again, I think Poland got so lucky having Austria, because it's not like, but you could be playing a Denmark, you could be playing this year, you could be playing Spain or England.
Because, just to say, if you do win your league in Group C, you do go through to the playoffs.
Okay, thank you for correcting me.
So you do have the opportunity to sneak through. I'm fully with you. The chances of it happening are, I mean, it's slimmer than a Slim Jim, but it's not likely.
Thank you for correcting me. Yeah, thank you for correcting me. And Couture, I'm not taking away from the fact that Natalia did that. And I'm like, once again, emotional person, tears in the eyes, watching her score the first goal, watching all 3 of those goals, both of her goals and Eva's goal against Denmark, crying, me crying. But like, maybe what I want is more countries to have that opportunity, and I don't think that this system gives that many countries that opportunity, because obviously the other team that got there for the first time was Wales. Obviously, Sean's not here to talk about them, but obviously they played Ireland, who had been to the World Cup in 23, and it was actually seen as a failure for Ireland that Wales beat them, and Wales went to their first major tournament over Ireland. These are 2 examples of it working, but usually it doesn't work, and like nobody's putting money on the team from League C beating the team from like League B or whatever. Like, just, it doesn't happen, and maybe I just want more magic, and I don't think that the Nations League gives the magic.
But is that not a direct thing of what we were just talking about again worldwide? the fact that you're not going to get that. I mean, to run through the teams that are currently in Group C that weren't relegated from B, you're looking at Cyprus, Kosovo, Azerbaijan, the Faroe Islands, Kazakhstan, Estonia, Lithuania, Armenia, Bulgaria, Moldova, I don't know what Moldova is, North Macedonia, Georgia, Andorra, Liechtenstein, and Gibraltar. And when you look at those teams, they're still very much emergent nations. They're still very much working hard at it. So the fact that they've got a shot through the playoffs, I'd argue, is possibly a better opportunity for them than having to go into a league format, for example, because, as you said, with Poland and Wales and some of these other teams, over 2 legs, you've maybe got a chance of pulling off some sort of upset and getting that opportunity. But actually, if they were to make it to the World Cup, it's not going to be, they're not going to go on and win it, obviously. So it's a tricky one in that one. So is there not a little bit there about, as well, for the marketability of it, you're going to want your big teams. That's why you've got your Brazils, your America, your Canada, lots of teams coming through from Europe. Please do continue. I didn't mean to butt in.
No. Yeah, like completely fair, and I understand marketability. That's not a word. It is now. FIFA won England, France, Spain, Germany, Sweden, Denmark in over Moldova because people know players from German players over Moldovan players. The players from Moldova.
Moldovan?
Thank you. You realize when you start saying something out loud, I actually have never referred to these people by this word before. I have no idea what it is. Thank you. But I can't remember what I was going to say. Oh, yeah. I think it's a system that suits the big countries over the small countries. Maybe what I just want is a system that suits everyone. Or
how could that work?
I don't know, Barry. I'm not in charge of these things.
This is what I mean. It's because I think whatever happens, the big teams are going to go through.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with the big teams going through. Obviously, you want a Spain and an England and a Germany at the World Cup. Obviously you do. They've got the best talent in the what's the word? In the
Confederation?
In the continent. God, sorry.
Yeah, that's what you're after.
I was going to say in the I needed in county, and I was like, well, that's just not right. And then when you start panicking, could not think of what it was. I just think, maybe I'm too cynical. Maybe I should just lighten up.
Your point is fair. I mean, again, there's 4 groups in Group A, and the winners of those 4 groups immediately make it through to the World Cup. Every other team in Group A, if they don't win, will take part in the playoffs. And that's where the big thing is. So all those teams in Group A will get a second chance at trying to get qualification. Again, in Group B, the top 3 teams all go to the playoffs as well in those 4 groups. And then, as I said, in Group C, the group winners will go through to the playoffs. And then I think it's 2 of the second place sides. Yeah, 2 of the second place sides with the best records will also go through to the playoffs. So there's a lot of things. It's all based around those playoffs. So really the only side that's guaranteed is if you win your Group A group, I suppose. I was trying to think of another word for that, but that's really what it is. If you win your Group A group, then you are through, and that's how it goes. So Freya, from your point of view, where would you go with this? Because I mean, Liberty does make a good point. Claire also does. Funding is going to be the bottom line there. These bigger nations do have a lot more money to pump into the game, but it's really, really interesting because I still, is it perfect? Probably not. But we're not really in a perfect world with regards to the teams in the first place. And actually, are we not in a situation where it's probably the best it can be at the moment for what is currently available on offer for all of these teams?
It's tough, isn't it? Because I was reading the rules because I clipped it all up for the Wednesday pod to kind of talk through, because you're right, it's weird that we've got all these league games and then there's a playoffs and it's a playoff round 1, but path 1 and then path 2 of then you go into round 2 and it's just all of this. But the thing that I noticed was, in round 1, path 1 for the playoffs, the teams finishing 2nd and 3rd in League A will play the 6 group winners and 2 best ranked runners up in League C. Now, to me, a bit like you said, that's just set up for the League A teams to win, because you look at the difference between your League A's and your League C's. The League C teams could win, of course they could, but odds are they're not going to. So could it then be that the 2nd and 3rd place League A groups actually play more against the League B teams, which I know currently is 4th place League A against the League B group winners? That's fine, that makes sense. But surely the 2nd and 3rd in League A, why don't you play the 2nd and 3rd of League B? Like, that would make a bit more sense. So then you've got more scope for the winners of League C battling the bottom teams in League B. Like, that would open it up a lot more, I think, rather than just saying, right, you're the top teams, you go against the bottom teams, and therefore you probably are going to win. So, I mean, maybe one year they could trial something and see if it works. But then you might get some backlash of some favourites going out, but then that makes it interesting. The fact that some big teams might not make it through. So yes, I think I'd like to shake that up slightly. But because as it is very much set up for those teams. But it is what it is. What it is, unfortunately.
It's really weird having all those leagues. I mean, I hadn't noticed that before, but actually, that is a massive point. The fact that League C have to play League A, and that really goes into exactly what Liberty was saying there about how it's weighted towards the bigger sides, because they're likely to win that. Whereas again, if you had League C against League B and let League A fight out amongst themselves, or even be waiting for the winners, at least you would have teams that were in a bit more of a run, I suppose.
Yeah, because if you think like Group A1 is Denmark, Italy, Serbia, and Sweden, probably Sweden, Italy are going to be the top 2. They're going to go through, or at least be battling it out. But if you think like Serbia could quite happily go up against a Czechia or a Montenegro, and that could still be a really good fight where they are from League B. And Turkey, just let's say they finish bottom of their group in B, a Turkey could go up against a Bulgaria or a Lithuania. Like, that to me just makes a lot more sense in this. So yeah, you never know. Maybe we'll see some shifts, because then you've got Poor Republic of Ireland, who have got the group of death this tournament, as it has been named. So you're thinking odds are, I mean, I'd love them to get through. Odds are they might finish bottom, and then, or at least third one. And then you think, well, where's they're going to go? What?
Couture's just, I mean, that is, I think he's joking.
I wasn't even aghast at that. Freya, the betrayal.
What? I said
time to break up that.
No, oh, no.
Let's try to get your words out. Try it again.
To be fair, Liberty, when I started talking, Liberty, can you hear us?
Hello, sorry, it buffered.
You have to say it again, because you didn't actually hear what you said. You turned into the robot.
No, I was just going to say, when I looked at Group A2 to just pick out Republic of Ireland, of course, Poland are in A2 as well. Yeah. I see that now. But I didn't see it when I first started talking. I just picked them out.
It is going to be between us and Ireland, though, for the, like, even though we did draw to the Netherlands in a friendly at the end of last year, but like,
really tough group. Really
yeah, it's rough. Especially for Ireland to get France again. Like, I feel like they play France every Nations League at this point. It's a really tough group. I think people look at England, Spain in the same group and are thinking, well, that's once again in the same group, but like overall, like there's a clear imbalance between England and Spain and Ukraine and Iceland, whereas France, Netherlands, Poland, and Republic of Ireland is like decently weighted across, even though like you have your big two, you're expecting to finish first and second. The gap between is lesser than the England group, in my opinion.
No, well, I think fair points from both of you. So tomorrow will be the first game of the World Cup qualifiers, as they are affectionately called, even though they are just the Nations League matches. But some big games coming up tomorrow. So you've got Denmark and Serbia, Italy and Sweden. Poland play Netherlands, while Republic of Ireland plays France. Ukraine play England, with Spain taking on Iceland. Germany play Slovenia. Austria play Norway. So those are your Group A matches. Just a brief scan through to see if there's anything that majorly sticks out on the other ones. Then there'll be more games again on the Saturday. I'm going to ask you both to give us who you think the Group A winners are going to be. So looking at that first group, Sweden, Italy, Denmark, Serbia. Who do we think's making it through? Who's getting the automatic qualification, and who is going to have to jump through a few more hoops?
I think it'd be
We'll
Italy.
answer the second bit, because the answer is the three teams that you haven't mentioned. So sorry, yeah, who's going to win it?
Italy.
Italy.
I say Italy, but I think it'll be like there'll be a draw in there somewhere. The points are really close, but I would say Italy would eke out Sweden, because I don't think they've I don't understand the Gustafsson appointment. I'm not convinced. So I think Italy, because they're a bit more under the system, will win that group.
Nice.
You didn't ask for an explanation, but I gave it. Sorry.
No, I mean, I like it. Emily thinks Sweden's going to do it. I think it's going to be obviously between Sweden and Italy, you would imagine.
Sweden, sorry.
I think I'd give it to Sweden.
Sweden's backline is going to be a bunch of kids this break, because all the centre backs of any experience retired, and also so did Jonna Andersson. She also just recently retired. You've got Lundqvist, who's 22, Smilla Homburg, 19, Bella Anderson, 19. Our Uncle Tony's not here, so he can't change my pronunciation, but I want to say Nalung, who plays for Leon, 23. Obviously, Sandberg is out, but she would be in this back line, 23. Literally, they're all going to be... the only player who's over 25 is Amanda Nilden of the entire back line. It's like kids. And Bjorn is injured at the moment.
Okay.
Hopefully, she might be back for April. But it's literally going to be a bunch of kids. It's quite interesting that how he's going to do this, because it's literally they're all so young. Yeah,
well,
sorry.
Sweden have done pretty well over the last few years, so we're interested to see how they get on. But there we go. I just want it noted that if Sweden do win that, I was the one that had the confidence in them. And of course, if Sweden finish second, then we'll forget that I ever mentioned it. That's how that works. The next group is France, Netherlands, Poland, and the Republic of Ireland. I would imagine you're all going to go the same way, but we shall see. Freya?
I'm going to go Netherlands.
That's not what I thought you were going to say. So
France have got a few injuries. So I'm going Netherlands.
Interesting. Where are you going, Liberty?
Poland. France.
See, that's where I would have gone. I would have said France. I don't know. I just feel like Netherlands have, and again, interesting because it's split in the chat already as well. Trebuchet sticking with us. Emily going with you there, Freya. I just feel like Netherlands at the moment, we keep saying that they just don't turn up for these tournaments. And I know it's not necessarily the actual World Cup as yet, But I don't know. I just think, again, the way that it's weighted and set up, you would imagine France and Netherlands should win against both Poland and the Republic of Ireland, and it'll come down to their match. Sorry, Freya. Sorry, Liberty, but that's just my opinion. That's all I'm saying. If Poland go on to win a game against either of those teams, I'll be delighted. I'll find it hilarious. They're not my team, but I'm just saying that's how you would expect it to be. And if you don't agree with that, then your entire rant that you had at the beginning of this is entirely null and void, because Poland winning the league would clearly be quite a thing. But yeah, so I think it'll be between France and Netherlands on that one. Absolutely not, Claire. I do not have the time or brain capacity for that. Just the 4 Group A teams, because they're the only ones who will be completely qualified by the end of the group stages, which leads us to the third group, which is, of course, for me, the coin toss. Really, it's whether or not you go for the previous World Cup winners in 2023, Spain, or the last 2 Euros winners, England, and then, of course, poor old Iceland and Ukraine just stuck right in the middle of that one. I'll go to you first on this one, Liberty. What do you see happening here? Spain are an incredible side. Obviously, we're in the final against England in the Euros. We saw them win in the World Cup final as well. They have a habit of winning. But again, England, Serena, we don't tend to do necessarily great always in the Nations League bit. So that is something to go in there as well. I dropped in a little wee there. Sorry, England don't tend to do that great in the Nations League. Is that going to weight towards Spain, you think?
Yeah, I think this will be Spain. They also have, in my opinion, they have 2 significant injuries at the moment. Obviously, Bonmati has been out now for 3 months. It's been quite a while, but I think most significantly at this exact moment, Katakoi is out injured. And so it's the first call up for Misa since so long.
Justice for Misa.
Yeah, I don't even remember the last time she got a call up. No. But Katakoi is an unbelievable goalkeeper, but also Misa is very good. But I think it's going to be Spain. I think England don't really take this seriously. Maybe they need to take it seriously and actually pull their socks up. But yeah, I think just purely because Spain seem to go 110% in every single game, I'll say Spain.
I just think this is one of those where, again, you're looking at 2 big teams, Freya, in this one. Like I say, Spain, the last World Cup winners, England, the last Euros winners. And although technically you look at the Euros and you think we give the Euros a lot of precedence, I think, whereas, the same could be said, as we just said, about the Asian Cup winners and the AFCON winners. It's the same thing. Effectively, it's that Continental Cup win. But England were, of course, in that in the shout for that World Cup. So talk to us a little bit about what you think is going to happen there, Spain or England, or are you going to go completely left field and throw in Iceland or Ukraine?
I would love Iceland or Ukraine to do some damage. Yeah, I'd love it to be England, of course I would. But I just think Spain have got, like we were saying, they've just got that extra gear that in these big tournaments, they do seem to use that gear, where I think England, they've got a habit of coasting a bit, haven't they? And then it's like, oh yeah, okay, we'll apply some pressure now. So yeah, I think it's going to be tight, but I think unfortunately Spain might just edge it in the end.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it will be Spain, and that's what worries me, because at some point it's going to go wrong, and by which I mean, if England were to have to go into the playoffs, it only takes one poor performance, and then that's it. You're not qualifying for the World Cup, which is unimaginable, really, I think, for the people of England, based on the success that's been had over the last 4 years or so. But it's a tricky one. So yeah, not the best group, I don't think, in that respect. But there we go. And then, of course, the last one: Germany, Norway, Austria, and Slovenia I feel like there is only one. Oh, hello. I feel like have North Spain can better teams get the goal difference up. Yeah, probably can. Yeah, we all going the same one here. I know there's always somebody who wants to say Norway are going to do well. I'm going to assume that we are above that on here, and that we are all going for a different team. Slovenia, of course. Liberty.
Yes.
Yeah, naturally.
We all going with this?
Yeah.
It's got to be, hasn't it? Out of those four. Got to.
I'm still not convinced by the coach. I'm not convinced by many of these coaches, to be honest, but I think the talent would do it. In not in spite, because I don't think it's at that point, but I think the talent outweighs the coaching. And yeah, Germany with Norway second. But I think that Germany would beat Norway home and away, so they'd win on that alone.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. The fact that Germany will probably have the edge over Norway in those games. Absolutely that. And yes, they do. They do. And this is what I mean about these competitions. They happen elsewhere. But yeah, the Nations League, I think, and this is the bit it's had to overcome, it certainly has in the men's game, is the fact that it is just another glorified friendly tournament. And by throwing in the World Cup qualification, all those sorts of things into it, it's trying to give it that little bit more prestige so that people take it more seriously. But again, and perhaps this feeds into what Liberty was saying as well, if you know that all of your teams are going to be in the playoffs and you've got a chance of getting through by beating all of the teams that are below you anyway, that completely takes away the jeopardy of being in that group, because actually you're just going to win. You know, you've got a chance of going through, even if you make a complete muck up of it, you've got an opportunity. I can't tell if your hand's going up, Liberty, because you want to speak, if you're cheering because you feel like I've agreed with you, or if you're just trying to knock your camera off and go, that's it, I've had enough. I can't work out what's going on.
I was actually fist pumping in support of Couture's Liberty, also more minutes for Freigang, justice for Laura. That was huzzah! Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I was being silly. It's nearly bedtime.
This is clever. You won the internet this evening, because obviously we mentioned Jason and Kylie for the Eurovision Song Contest, and then we mentioned home and away. So we had neighbours and home and away on the same one. Clay, you're my sort of person. You've got to be on our chat more often because you're on my wavelength. I love that. So there we go. That was not quite around the world in 80 minutes, but it was around the world in less time than Phileas Fogg made it. So that is beaten by like 79 days. I don't know what took him so long. Crazy. So there we go. Liberty, is there anything that you would like to shout out other than the fact that neighbours will always have good friends?
I don't even know those are the words or not. I think those are the words. My mum used to watch it every single day when I was little.
It was very similar.
Close enough. I was small. I don't have anything. No, nothing. Can't think of anything.
There you go. Yeah. There's nothing. Freya, I know you mentioned that you are going to be going off to see England in a professional capacity. So that'll be quite nice. So maybe you want to tell us a little bit about that and where people might be able to find the bits and bobs you're coming up with from there.
Me. Yes, so I will be in the press box on Saturday for the England versus Iceland game at Nottingham. Very excited about that. First England game I've been in the press box for, so very good. I've been to press conferences and stuff, but I haven't actually been in the stadium on the actual day, so very excited. Writing for Do It Yourself Full Time, which is a really, really good online source for your news, so do go check that out. I'm obviously at T3T Rights as well. I'll be doing live updates and things like that. But on a Villa note, we're doing something really exciting called Unlocking the Villa Women's Vault, and it's a brand new podcast series, and we're interviewing ex-players from Villa from the 70s right the way through. because if you look on the internet, if you're not an Arsenal or a big club, there is just no history and it's not documented, and there's just nothing. So what I've tried to do is combine my love of history and my love of football, put it all together. So we've got this podcast series with the actual interviews that are taking place. We launched the first one with Nikki Edwards. That came out on Friday, I think, and that's been really well received. So if you fancy an interview about 90s Villa, do go check that out. We've got another one coming out with Lorraine Robinson on Thursday. She's an absolute firecracker, so please do go watch that one as well. We've also got some others lined up, which is really exciting, but the aim of the game that I'm trying to do is on our website, which is the whole115yards.com. I'm going to have an actual Villa archive in there, so there'll be 70s, 80s, 90s, noughties now, and actually take you through the leagues, the players, what happened, the name changes, the everything. So I'm currently, if you can't find me, I'm trawling through a newspaper archive, trying to find information about Villa from back in the day. So a couple of good things coming on. Please do go check them out if you can, please and thank you.
Sounds amazing. I mean, it's one of those things that's, it's a rabbit hole as soon as you get into it.
Oh, yeah.
Ever expanding. Like I'm in a very similar sort of place with the work I'm doing at Stevenage at the minute, and it just feels like you'll never ever get through it. And that is only going back as far at the moment as 2012, really. Trying to get beyond that is almost impossible because everything that's on full time stops for us there at that point. So then you're trying to look at archives, websites, and all sorts. So it really does. It's a never-ending job, that. So fair play to you for taking that one on. We'll throw this to you. Andy Slater is doing that for the United fanzine. So he's doing lots of that, and there has been, we've done a show on All for United with some former United women players as well there. So get yourself over there, have a look. There'll be plenty happening over there. So do feel free to search that one through. It wasn't all that long ago. I don't think it was this year. Must have been towards the end of last year, I feel like, perhaps the last international break. So that would have been around about November. So maybe go back and have a look there. And feel free, go and give it a watch. That'll bump it up by one. So great stuff. Well done. And of course, others go and watch it as well. Bump it up by more if you like. Why not? And some sad news, actually. I didn't see this one, Claire. This is where you come up with some pretty amazing bits because it was only announced about 5 hours ago. But Linda Hale, who played and scored in the first ever official England women's fixture, has passed away, unfortunately. At the age of 18, not when she passed away, she started the historic game against Scotland in November 1972, making the score sheet in a 3-2 win for the Lionesses. 10 appearances overall for her country with 3 goals, playing her last game against Switzerland, which was a 9-1 home victory in Hull. So very sad. Our first ever England number 7, a goal scorer in the first official match for England, and sadly, as we say, has passed away. But a huge loss to the women's game insofar as the fact that the modern game, as we see it now, very much built on the shoulders of people such as Linda. So yes, RIP. So some sad news to finish off the pod with, and in the right way, we shall probably leave that one just there. So we've been speaking all the way around the world about international football, perhaps a fitting way to end it there, to remember that we're only where we are right now because of people like Linda Hale. We'll see you all next time. Goodbye.